Ahead and go live. All right, it says we are live. Hello, everyone that has been waiting. I see you guys are already calling me late in the chat. I am not late. I am perfectly on time. I just shifted the clock 7 minutes. It's part of the Sunshine Bill Senator Rick Scott is putting through. He decided that I would never be late to a stream ever again. I am not late. I am not late, Craig. I am not. No, it's so over. They're all saying I'm late. Anyways, we may have some other people join, but right now we're just going to be doing a bit of monologue along with my good friend here. Say hello to everyone, Rice.
Hey.
Hello. So we are here to discuss today the absolute shit show that is Gavin Newsom, Governor Gavin Newsom, the state of California, and the fires currently ongoing. Right now, they would like you to believe fundamentally that the California fires are the results of happenstance, climate change. It's nobody possibly knows. And I keep replaying this footage of Gavin Newsom talking to Anderson Cooper, I believe. And when he's asked by Anderson Cooper, he's like, "Well, why is there no water in the fire hydrants?" He's flopping up his arms and he's going, "I don't know. The locals have to figure that out. Why would I, the governor of California, ever have anything to do with there being no water in certain areas?" So, yeah, ultimately, there is this weird thing where the California fires divided a lot of people online because, there's a lot of Republicans in the state of California, and they would be like, "Well, you're just using the brush fires to shit all over our state. You don't actually care." But the whole thing is, like, we now have a treasure trove of things, not just from like the past couple of years, but the past 20 years, to show that this is something preventable, this is something manageable, and it's not something that's been out of the purview of the leaders. There's in fact a video from 2018, I believe, that I can try to pull up here real quick. But yeah, no, it's a video from Trump in 2018 talking with Gavin Newsom in like a forest, basically. And he's explaining to him word for word how to prevent this situation from happening. All right. If Cackles runs for governor in 26, she might lose to Shanahan. All right. What do you think? Do you think Miss Kamala Harris would have a great run at running for governor of California in 2 years? What do you think, Rice?
Maybe, but I kind of doubt it.
It's hard to say. It's like, they did vote for her by like 20 points or so, but ultimately that is like the worst performance a Democrat has ever had in their state. And it's funny because Gavin Newsom was going to be the other guy that was going to be president, right? They kept saying, "Gavin Newsom's our guy. Gavin Newsom, most popular Democrat governor. He's going to take the world by storm. He's going to be president." And now his state's on fire. So I don't know how that rhetoric's going to work on the debate stage with JD Vance. Gavin Newsom's be like, "Well, you're an inexperienced leader," and JD's like, "Your state is still on fire." Your state's on fire, bro. You think you can run the country? But yeah, ultimately, it goes down to what Colton's saying in the chat. 2 reasons: refusal to divert the northern snowmelt and refusal to burn dead trees, the universally recognized cause of wildfires, and something that benefits an ecosystem. So right, yeah, you have to take good care of the forest as human beings that use it, that operate it, and because if you leave all of that stuff on the florist floor, it dries out and it becomes susceptible to catching on fire. And the thing Trump was pointing out, and in the specific video where he's talking in 2018 to Gavin, he's talking about talking to the leaders in Finland. And the leaders in Finland are like, "Oh, well, we just do basic forest management. We're a country of forests, but we don't ever catch on fire because we're not stupid." And then I believe he also had a similar conversation with Austria, the leaders of Austria. So he's been talking to all these world leaders that have the exact same problems that California does, and they're able to manage it very well. And also, one of the things that Victor Davis Hanson, who is a person that actually still lives in I believe in the valley out in California. He is one of the people that speaks up about how the other detrimental effects of not diverting water. Right now, all of the water that comes down from Canada is supposed to reach into the southern dips of California. And, it used to form a lake, and I don't think anybody has prospects of it becoming a lake again because it kept drying out over and over. But at the very minimum, the water, as it was running down and running dry, could be used to irrigate countless farmland, like countless things, and all of the utility bills would go down and everything else. And ultimately, we have answers. And this is what I want to tell you on the stream. I will give you the answer to why all of this is happening. It's a two-pronged issue that ultimately creates a government of both incompetence and malevolence in the state of California. Just because I don't like talking the whole time, and because I like having a bit of conversation, Rice. Can you give me your general speculative thoughts? Like when you think of California, what do you think is the problem with what's going on over there? Like why do you think that they just can't do anything right?
Well, that's a bit of a loaded question because there's just at baseline, it's just anybody who's running these policies, because the way that I just see it, at least with California, it's become, at least over the course of its existence in the last maybe 20-ish to 30-ish years, it's just in this, I don't know, lefty utopia, Yeah, sure.
A lot of utopians over there.
Yeah, so I feel like, especially, it's a lot of utopians that have no actual, I guess, grasp on how, I don't know how else to describe it, especially with the level of incompetence with not filling the water reservoirs and, as someone pointed out, burning dead trees. It's obviously people who aren't really in touch with reality with what running at least that specific state and its conditions consist of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's really important to know that this is a very recent problem, that, California was capable of developing infrastructure. They were capable of developing some of the most majestic, efficient highway systems in the entire country. I mean, you don't get that many people running around in your cities if they don't have a way to get there. And so they were really top notch for quite a long time with these systems. And they had to be, because they it's all the way out west. They had to spend more time building stuff up out there as compared to the East Coast. But, oh gosh, it really fell off the rails recently. And a lot of people ask themselves why. And some people, I think the easiest box standard answer to that question we'll talk about in a minute, but it's a little bit more complicated than a simple matter of migration. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how it got that bad. But first, we'll go ahead and wrap up the fire stuff. Yes, they're supposed to be filling water reservoirs. They got billions upon billions of dollars to fill the water reservoirs. And for some reason, between the starting place of getting the money and the end place of doing the task, California as a government has failed to fill their water reservoirs. It's so funny because there's actually, I don't know if you call this funny or tragic. I don't know if you're supposed to laugh or if you're supposed to cry. But there are pictures you can find online right now of firemen using purses to put out fires. They don't have a hose. They didn't have the equipment for the hose. And they are putting out fires with women's purses. It's one of the most,
something on that too. Oh my gosh.
One of the most embarrassing things I have ever seen. Yeah, here Amuse posted it. Here, I'll go ahead and I'll put it in chat for you guys to see for yourself. But yeah, no, seriously, they literally are using purses to actually put out fires. And you may wonder, it was well, this isn't a reservoir problem. This is a materials problem. Where are all the materials for the fire department? Well, turns out that the LA Fire Department sent large portions of their materials to Ukraine to assist with the effort in reclaiming Southeast Ukraine. So the LA Fire Department has given personal materials, shipped them halfway across the world. In addition to the DEI hiring and practices, which has prevented a lot of, and look, I'm sorry, but volunteer firefighting, that's a masculine profession. You're going to have a lot of men. And that because to meet quotas, they have refused to actually properly staff their fire departments. So DEI is part of this. Ukraine is part of this. Like it's almost one of the fascinating things about this. It's like an intersection of everything going wrong in the rest of the country, all in one place. So it's like I think one of the reasons why California is so fascinating, in spite of me living very far away from it, it's like the center of so much rot that has infested the rest of the country. And well, that actually makes a lot of sense when you remember how many representatives California gets in the House and everything else. Like, they have a lot of power over the federal government. They're losing it, but they've had a lot. Yeah, there's no water thanks to this bastard on the screen. And like, I also loved that. I want your take, Rice, on the gall of this man. He basically, Governor Newsom, in the same interview, right before he like shrugs his hands about the water, he's like, I can't believe Trump politicized this. I am so angry. I don't even have words for how angry I am. I couldn't even properly articulate how angry I am at Trump right now for politicizing this actual literal disaster. What's your reaction to hearing that?
Well, besides the fact that I want this man's head on a pike in Minecraft, old school RuneScape style, just for that. But like, the people who make this complaint about like, oh, you're politicizing this and that, especially when you see it in like an example that comes to mind is maybe like the LGBT plus community going, oh, don't politicize my existence, as if they weren't spending literally, decades trying to put in policies that would validate that. And this is like basically the specific case here too. It's like, yeah, of course this is going to be politicized. You're, relocation of like resources for this to even not be a thing to start with is what got you here. That's like a part of politics, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, ultimately. And it's so sad because Trump, like, even people were bringing up clips from the Joe Rogan interview where Trump explicitly stated that, California could get so much more water if they stopped caring about the little smelt fish. And I think one of the saddest things about the whole smelt fish controversy, they're trying to do environmental preservation, preserving the smelt fish. Smelt fish is not uniquely native to California. It's in other places. Like, if they killed off their local smelt population, there's smelt in other places. If they need it to like preserve a biological ecosystem, they can import the eggs. If the smelt were so important, they could figure out a way to fix it. But no, it's like this is entirely like an excuse to do something, which was another environmental thing Trump brought up in the Rogan interview, where he's basically talking about his obstacles with environmentalism, where people are paid to actually sit there as lawyers and legal minds to advise and consult like government officials and bureaucrats on how to lay out environmental policy. They're paid to find regulations. They're paid to make up bullshit. They're paid to make everybody's lives a little bit worse. And I think the ultimate thing that crucifies this entire process is the fact that the people that they're doing it with are ultimately like not held accountable to anything. So like, they don't have to produce results. They don't have to make the environment better. They don't have to actually show any substantial proof that their policies make the environment better. They just have to invent things to regulate. That's all they have to do. And so it's basically this bully pulpit granted to environmentalists by the governments, the state and federal governments, to bully businesses into doing whatever they want. A really important point that Link Cubed brought up, isn't the mayor of LA flying to Ghana? Yeah, she got back. Link. She got back, and people immediately were just asking her, they weren't even asking her confrontational questions. They were just like, do you have any words for the people of Los Angeles? Do you have any words for the people in this time of crisis? And what did she do? She Well, first of all, she didn't immediately like walk away, but she's just like frozen. She froze in time and space and said nothing. And then she walked away as she was being asked again, like, do you have any words? You know, peak leadership right there. You know, we can sometimes give shit to people for giving non-answers as politicians, but, you know, I think the bare minimum is saying words. Like, if you are elected to a position and something is happening, like, it's like you don't even have to say things that like are about like what you're doing to help. You should be like, stay calm, guys, stay allocated. Like, you can give out orders and like tell people like what to do to keep themselves safe. So she had no directives to like tell anybody what to do to help with the crisis. She didn't have anything she could offer to them to help with the crisis. Apparently, it's so bad. It's so bad that her best response is to be silent. And what that says to me is that things are so bad that if she said anything, it would get worse. That's my read on it. My read on it is that if she explained what was going on in the LA political system, in the fire department, in the local government, everybody would be even more concerned than they would being in silence. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know how to react to a situation like that. That's insane. I couldn't even imagine. Like, I mean, I'm over here. I'm in Florida, if you guys don't know, and I have Governor Ron DeSantis. And however I feel personally about Ron DeSantis, he's a great governor. He's a wonderful governor. And he not only says things, he not only has words, he says words, you guys, you know? Ron DeSantis says words. But no. He actually has actions, and he has handled disasters in this state faster than any other governor that we've had. And he gets universal praise for it. And now that there's universal condemnation of Governor Newsom's handling of this fire, well, now all of a sudden Dems are like, well, this is political. This is political. No. There's just, you have a leader. The leader has to get people through conflict. And if Gavin Newsom had been prepared, or if he had ultimately just done the best in the moment, like, he would be getting praise. Like, don't you think, like, all right, I know he's in a bad situation, but don't you think there are some things either the LA mayor could be doing right now, or Newsom could be doing right now, like words they could be speaking or actions they could be promising to do that would make the situation better? Like, at least calm people down.
I mean, yeah, there could be something that, you know, Newsom could probably say, but at the same time, considering how he essentially flopped with going, oh, how dare you politicize what's going on here? This obviously isn't a person who ought to be in the position that he's in. This is not a leader at any, you know, reliable capacity, because a real leader, like you said, would at least give some semblance of encouragement. As like Kren pointed out in chat, you know, even when well, I'm trying to remember her name, but essentially, yeah, they could have said something to the effect of, you know, stay safe, we're doing our best, we're working on it, but like, we didn't get that. We either are met with silence, which I believe is more deafening than anything else, but we also get, you know, this not whining nonsense that we're getting here, you know, from our leadership.
Yeah. All right. And I just needed to introduce, you guys saw me drag a new profile onto the screen. That is your boy Tyrone.
I can introduce myself.
Now go introduce yourself, Tyrone. Tell everyone who you are. Okay. Well, if you're not going to say anything, then yeah, there you go.
Jump. I repeat, jump alert.
I'm getting the alert notification. I don't know if the stream got that.
Yeah, we heard it, Tyrone. Yeah, okay, but anyways, really welcome, cool. Tyrone, to the California shit stream. We've been talking about
Newsom has to fucking resign. There's absolutely he's mobilized the guard, but they're not doing shit. The fact that they've basically given away their fucking fire equipment to help Ukraine, when we all know Ukraine is a failed endeavor, is a fucking joke. Do keep in mind, I'm going to be a lot less spicy than I usually am for those who know how I am on the streams, because I'm in a dorm. Hey, say hi to the stream. Yeah, that's my dorm mate.
They're saying out my ears. I think that's because I have you turned up. I'm going to turn you down a little bit. There you go.
Yeah, my dorm mate. He does nothing but play Arma 3. What the fuck are you playing then? Project Zomboid? Okay. Yeah, okay. My bad.
All right. Well, anyways, Tyrone. So what we've been talking about...
It's okay. I'm just shit talking you on a stream with hundreds of people. You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, okay.
That's an equal opportunity complaint. Article 15, good fucking work, trainee, half right thing. Anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Tyrone. You are such a wonderful stream guest. What were we going to talk about?
I don't know. What were you going to talk about?
We were talking about Gavin Newsom, what he could do to make things better. You know, this is the first thought that comes to me. You talked about the guard. Well, couldn't Newsom like go beg the states north of California for like help? Like, couldn't he like beg Washington and Oregon for stuff, or you know, any other state around him? Is he not doing anything?
He could ask the other National Guards to help him out. Yeah, that's what the Texas. I bet. Portland's a shithole, but I'm sure that they have some fucking extra fire hoses laying around. They don't like why are like firemen actually
using...
no, they gave those away to Ukraine too.
Okay.
Well, maybe like Reno, Nevada. I don't know. They'll find something, bro. He could ask Hawaii for help. Yeah, they'll get it quick.
It's too late. They already gave Hawaii to Ukraine.
They gave oh shit. We gave Hawaii to Ukraine.
They gave Hawaii to Ukraine? Holy shit. Now Ukraine's got a Pacific coastline.
Yeah.
You can't have anything in San Francisco.
Yeah, no.
San Francisco is gone now. That was for the good of all Americans.
Well, yeah. And that was actually something I wanted to talk about, the good of all Americans, because ultimately, I have a bunch of things that I can do to shit on California. I have a whole list of things about in general, like not just the fires, but in general. But with California having these fires every single year, ultimately they can't pay for their own shit. They're always in deficit. They're defaulting on their loans to the United States government. So if we help them with the disaster, this is ultimately a tax on the average American citizen every single year. And that's the reason why we all deserve to be pissed about this, even though it's not our state. You know, it's not our problem. No, it's billions of our tax dollars that now have to go to clean up this fucking mess. So yeah, no, that was something I wanted to bring up. Do you have any comments? Because we've talked about the water redirection. It's all going out in the fucking Pacific. It's not coming down into the very, very fertile land of California. Not going to anything. Then they're not clearing out the brush. So they're not doing basic things other governments do across the planet. You have any particular comments on the fires before I kind of get into why California is shit, like overall?
No, I mean, they have major fires at least once a year, though this is the worst one on record.
Right. And we're not saying that like the fires would go away if the California government was run correctly. What we're saying is that they would be really small. They wouldn't be widespread. They would probably last maybe 5, 10, 20 minutes, maybe an hour. And ultimately, there could be little to no property damage every single time. Instead of, what is it? It's going to be like hundreds of billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars at least. In LA.
Also keep in mind, the California government, as a result of being unreasonable, scared off real estate insurance companies from the fucking area that burnt down literally less than a month ago.
Right. So State Farm, which is what you're referring to, State Farm removed 1,600 homeowners insurance policies from this area. Oh, how horrible. State Farm, they're not going to help with the disaster. Why would State Farm remove 1,600 policies from this? And I guess this is a situation where I can kind of explain a little bit better what's going on. And I'm not going to get into a convoluted explanation, but here's the short of it. State Farm does risk assessment. State Farm has to determine what their price has to be based off of mathematical equations. Very simple mathematical equations you could do at home. This is ultimately a cost thing. They have to insure a risk, and the risk is so freaking high that they need to make the premiums high. But the socialist government in California doesn't understand economics, and so they go, well, you can't jack up homeowner premiums above X dollars. Well, you don't get cheaper insurance when the government does that. What you get is State Farm pulling out of the country, out of the state that you're in, because they no longer can afford to insure it. Like, imagine, like, they give all of these homeowners insurance policies at the lower rate to all these homes, and then State Farm goes fucking bankrupt trying to rebuild Los Angeles. That is exactly what would have happened if State Farm had stayed in California in the past year and had stayed here up until this disaster. That company, like, who knows? Maybe the whole thing would have gone insolvent. That would have been amazing. Don't you love when American businesses shut down due to government incompetence? It's fucking wonderful. Oh no, they gave Reno to the Ukrainians. Oh no. Oh. Yeah, no, we got to stop this, guys. This is too far. Actually, I don't really care. They can have Reno. Yeah, well, like in Florida with in Florida with the hurricanes, we anticipate the hurricanes so much. It's something that obviously, unless you watch a lot of Alex Jones, you don't think we can control. So I'm not going to comment on weather manipulation, but we expect them, we anticipate them, we know roughly when they're going to happen, and we prepare for them. There's a reserve left to help out affected homes. There is a system, like a process, step 1, 2, 3, 4, of how to get everybody back into online with power as quickly as possible. And so we're very efficient at it.
By the way, all of this has been figured out to a fucking T under Republican governance, and one of the greatest appeals of the Make America Great Again movement is we have systems of competent governance with our structure and our personnel.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that is literally one of the key elements that Trump tried to hammer home. We're going to be effective with immigration. We're going to be effective on the economy. We're going to be effective on governance. That's what DeSantis's whole fucking dick was before he ran in 2024 primaries. Like, people, like, you follow DeSantis. He only became a culture warrior after he started exploring becoming president. When he was focused solely on being governor, he was like literally we're going to focus exclusively on running the state as fucking best as we can. Like, that's what his fucking bread and butter was.
Yeah,
as and it's no surprise that Florida, as it turns out, when your state is prone to natural disasters, and you have someone who accommodates for that, they're good at responding to natural disasters.
Yeah, and yeah, so right now, it really is, like, it's not even a matter of lack of information or lack of experience or anything. That California's been dealing with this for forever, and, you know, like, these fires have been bad for about 2 decades. They've been televised as bad for about 2 decades. So it's not a matter of lack of experience. It's genuinely, they do not prepare for them to happen, and then, well, they just want someone to come up and clean up the mess. They actually set up legislation with the anticipation someone will clean up their mess for them. And that is not how you govern a state. That's not how you govern a country. And so anybody who thinks Gavin Newsom has a fucking shot in the dark of ever becoming president, well, the thing that I'm showing on screen, the reason I keep showing it is because this would be playing in every single television attack ad against Newsom. It would be him shrugging his shoulders, flapping his arms. Well, it's not my problem. We've already dealt with that for 4 years. Well, shrug,
not my
flap,
problem. It's yours.
Flap your arms. Who cares what happens to North Carolina? Like, they should figure it out themselves. Legends say Florida hurricanes would cease to exist without Maria Salazar. That's true. Literally, the bridge was rebuilt in a matter of days and weeks rather than months and years. Yeah. So yeah, we just have it figured out, and it's genuinely just because of Republican governments. And as we were talking about earlier, there's a bit of a utopian style government. I want to talk about that now. I want to talk about how California got the utopian government that it has right now. And I'm going to get the short answer that you'll hear from everybody online is partially true. And that is the immigration problem. That after Ted Kennedy's 65 Immigration Act, and then after Reagan went in and did amnesty, and then after all of these things happened, the fate of California in many people's eyes was somewhat sealed, right? Where you had influxes of people who were there for jobs, economic migrants, who were there to do a job but didn't necessarily have any fealty or loyalty towards the place that they were living in. and ultimately that would decrease societal trust, social cohesion, everything else. And because these people come from a different culture and don't necessarily, again, if you think like all of the Mexicans currently in California love the United States, you just need to go watch them at a freaking like football game or soccer game or whatever.
No, seriously.
They're freaking. So yeah, no, they brought in a bunch of migrants initially from Hispanic countries, and then from I get, what was it, like 180, 190 countries across the world, at least 100 countries across the world we've been taking migrants in from. So and it's really funny with the migrant issue, because originally everybody went to California because of how prosperous it was and how wide and vast their welfare systems were, and it was a great place to go if you were someone who wanted to be a heavily subsidized person. But guess what? The highway turned into a nightmare. And that's actually something I want to talk about, because in California, I don't know if you guys know this, California planned to let their infrastructure fall apart. And the reason behind it, they actually saw it as a strategy. Do you know what the whole strategy was? This is per VDH. So someone that lives in California, old guy, old conservative. I don't endorse everything he says, but he knows California. He says that the 99 freeway was allowed to go into stagnation because they figured if less people were able to go in and out of the major metropolitan areas due to not updating the infrastructure, that they would spread out and that they would like organically grow smaller cities, and like they would spread out the problem. This is literally what the California government at one point decided that they were going to do. They halted infrastructure deals because of this. And apparently, along with that, it created a sense of complacency that caused every single other infrastructure project they planned on never getting finished. And that's why the water reservoirs, billions of dollars in, a decade later, no water. That's why the bullet train never got made. They were making the most advanced trains in the fucking world. It was going to revolutionize California. California was going to be the most European society in all of the United States because they were changing the way people got to work and the way people traveled across cities and everything. And that project, I think it's a decade and a half now it's been going on. This is the most hilarious thing to me. They hired a French company to manage the railway. The French company came, did work, and then went up to the California government. Hey, California, we did all this work for you. Where's our paycheck? Where's our money? California was like, I don't know. And they said, well, if you want us to keep making the train and the railway for you, you're going to pay us. And the California government told the French, no, you should work for us for free. And they left. I believe they went to Morocco, and they built an entire new train system exactly like the one they were going to build in California. Probably lower budget, obviously it's Morocco. And in freaking North Africa, there is a train system that the project started and ended before California ever got their trains operational. Oh my gosh. And it's like, and that's not like, it is North Africa, so it's not like it's not like sub-Saharan Africa or anything, but it's still Africa.
I'm sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, and to think that a country full of people like Tyrone would ever have any amount of success, it's just startling.
Wow. Okay, I see.
Wow.
No.
Destroyed.
But yeah, no. So yeah, ultimately, like that's what we were looking for, and it never happened. And that's like such a stark reality to present to people. That's why I brought it up. But I'm gonna go down a list now, and you guys can give me. I'm gonna go down this list of things about California. I won't go through all of it because I have like a billion notes. But I'm gonna go through a paragraph of it, and I want you guys to like kind of speculate or just give a reaction. Just give a reaction to whatever I'm
breaking
saying.
News.
Hey, what's up?
The Supreme Court has denied Donald Trump's bid to stay his criminal sentence in New York.
Oh, okay. So that's over. That's what you're saying.
Oh, wow. Imagine my fucking shock.
Oh.
Kavanaugh and AOC threw Trump under the bus.
Okay.
What did he even do? He's not even in office yet.
So once again, could you repeat what the news you said, because I don't think I heard you correctly.
I put it in quick news.
Okay. Supreme Court denies Trump's bid to stay his criminal sentence. So they're going to schedule sentencing now, and they're going to try and put him in prison before January 20th. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, pretty much. Sounds like they're really trying to go for it.
So in the midst of California being on fire, and the total incompetence of Democrats being on display on the federal and state level, they thought that the smartest political optics move they could do was actually take the guy out and put him in. Oh gosh. So this is just a quick reaction. Pettiest thing ever. Ultimately will be undone very quickly. But we all know why. We know why this happened. They want to shame him. They will have no power to do anything for 4 years. And they just want the ability to shame him while they still can. At least 4 years. Amy Coney Barrett voted to deny. So there we go.
Very interesting.
Well, right. And this is my thing. She's always been the one person. She's supposed to be the disciple of Scalia. Like, that was how she was advertised to me when she first got on the stage. And ultimately, I mean, she has voted correctly in a lot of cases. It seems as though she's voted in alignment with what her ideas are supposed to be. But it's weird. I think, and I don't want to blame it on anything in particular, but when I look at the symptoms, the possible causes of these symptoms, I think it may be like the network of intelligentsia she's aligned with. I know that she's kind of in league with Catholic intelligentsia. I don't know if they give her bad takes or garbage takes on this kind of thing. I have no idea. The main thing I'm thinking about in regards to that is because it was like some of her other bad decisions have been related to immigration related issues, and as well as Texas. Remember, they had that spat last year. Yeah, her takes are pretty bad. Trump should have picked that Cuban instead of Barrett. Yeah, probably would be better off. Probably, Luke. We need to blacklist the Federalist Society. Federalist Society. Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Imagine foreign dignitaries or whatever showing up to talk to the president, and they're forced to walk to a prison to talk to Trump, meeting with the mob boss in prison to hear his decrees. Lol. Well, yeah. I think that's like what they're trying to do, because Trump is building up a fantastic power image right now, regardless of what you think of like what he's doing right now. I was talking to someone before we started streaming about, oh, this feels so useless. I don't like Trump doing all of these things with Greenland and all this other stuff because I just want him to deport migrants. Why can't he focus on America first? That's what I voted for, bro. Ultimately, what he's doing right now is he's setting up his plays on the field so that people, with John Bolton being absent, he himself still being a terrifying, unpredictable figure. Because if people are scared of him, they will behave. And they proved that like a couple days after the election when we got responses from Canada and Mexico to the tariffs. Like that was the instant response. And that ultimately, whatever you think are the goals of talking about Greenland, talking about the Panama Canal, talking about Canada, it's all negotiation. It's all art of the deal. That's my take on it. I don't think it's that schizophrenic to believe what the man said 37 years ago, I believe now, or 38 years ago now. It was 1987, I think. Yeah. Greenland is America first. Northwest Passage. Yeah, Craig, that's a good point. The Northwest Passage, obviously, as ice continues to melt, is going to be one of the most important trade routes in the world. So having Greenland, it's not only a national security bonus in case of future wars, but it's also just access to ports and regions of the ocean that will make it way easier for us to transfer our goods when the trade routes shift. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Colton brought up what I was trying to say earlier. She allowed the feds, Amy Coney Barrett, she allowed the feds to cut the barbed wire in Texas. And that was when Hot Wheels from Texas got involved and they had their spat, which Texas won, by the way. Really important thing. we'll have more. We'll have probably streams dedicated to talking about the repercussions of the Supreme Court kind of being weak in negotiations against states. But yeah, no, that was a really big red flag when they could not enforce their own decision against Texas. That was really scary for them, not for us. Greenland wants independence from Denmark anyways. Yeah, probably. But right now, I believe that the monarch in Denmark has like deep ties to Greenland, and that's part of why this is so personal. It's so controversial, all of that. But yeah, anyways, let's get back on track. I wanted to go through the list of things ultimately that VDH specifically has mentioned about California being bad. Hello, Luke Gagnon. Lake Politics is here, guys. How you doing, Ben?
We're doing good. Is my audio good? I'm walking as I tend to do from time to time.
I hear you walking, sir. I'm gonna get that Dave McCormick Avi on the stream post haste. There you are. Yeah, you're a big man. Okay,
I'm so sorry for the lack of content to everyone. I'm just worried that if I upload something, they're gonna send another thing to my house, and I don't really want to go through that. So I'm just going to wait until I've got confirmation that this guy's like, because it sounds like the FBI is looking into him. Once we get confirmation, I'll start uploading again.
Yeah, for anyone not like in the know, there's been some drama in election Twitter, been doxing. It's very like all of it seems so like petty and ridiculous from the doxers. And ultimately, if you guys could give love to Lake Politics, to Luke, and to Real American. We love those guys.
It's not that I'm being lazy and not streaming. It's that I don't want to get shit sent to my house. So
they are trying to. I don't really think they're doing it for any particular reason other than that they find it amusing that they can have power over people, and you should show them that they don't. You should give love to Rap and Luke here. Because I love streaming with them, and I'm streaming right now specifically because I enjoyed doing the rap stream so much. But yeah, anyway, so let's talk about some base issues with California and kind of color what the state is in general. And this is mostly from an economic standpoint, but there are some social things mixed in here. Okay, California has the highest gas prices in the United States, because they have the highest gasoline taxes and because they have the worst regulations and no company wants to be there. They don't want to sell oil. They do not develop their natural reserves of natural gas and oil. And so this makes energy cost crazy amounts in California. Mm-hmm. Half of the United States of America's homeless population resides in California. 1/3 of all welfare recipients in the United States live in California. 27% of California state residents are either foreign born or their parents are foreign. So first and second generation migrants compose almost 1/3 of the entire state. There has been no meaningful effort in any social way to try to integrate these people into society or even assimilate, cultural assimilation, but no integration either. So they've just been allowed to be on the wayside, and it's really awful, especially when their kids need ESL, obviously, and they need extra programs in school. It strains local schools, which is why, in spite of used to being, excuse me, they used to be in the top 10 of all states for academics. Their school test scores for public school are 45 out of 50. They are in the bottom 5 or bottom 6.
Those who can't do math because you might be subject to the California education system. That's the bottom 10%.
Well, yeah. They have the highest income tax of any state. They are, when you combine local, county, and state, they have the highest sales tax in so many areas. Some places are a little bit better, but most of the state, highest sales tax in the country. and they don't get anything to return. Like we said, all of their infrastructure projects intentionally stagnated for the sake of trying to spread out population distribution. San Francisco, highest per capita property crime rate in the United States. Los Angeles is now one of the most violent cities, period. Statistically, one of the most violent cities, like not in the world. Housing, $1,000 to $1,500 per square foot. So $1,000 to $1,500 per square foot of housing. If you have not ever bought a home, that's fucking terrifying. Electricity is not only is it like cost a crazy amount, it's terrible and unreliable because of their environmental policies and because of their lack of energy production. That's why they have all the blackouts. By the way, a friend of mine named Noct, that's in my server, I mentioned this to my close friends and I put that on my Twitter. If you guys didn't see, the state of California murdered my friend's grandmother-in-law. His wife is still in tears. She cannot get over it. She is mourning the death of her grandmother. Why did her grandmother die? Because to handle the disaster, they had to shift power away from Edison in California over to other areas to keep all of the grid from shutting down. And freaking her mother, who did not want to be in hospice care or whatever else in a home, was on actual life support at home without a backup generator. I mean, if you're one of those pieces of crap that's like, well, why didn't they have a backup generator? Screw you.
Hey, real quick, Nick Fuentes is complaining about Keith Woods on Telegram because he said it's irrelevant whether or not children are getting raped and burned. They should be talking about how he's still banned on Twitter.
I'm not, we can talk about Mr. Mexican Man.
Why are we talking about Wignet and neo-Nazi drama exactly? Like, why do we need to?
I'm not even joking. It's actually fucking hilarious. Because he and I bash him.
It's okay. A Nazi civil war. I just want to laugh at it, you know? It's funny.
Yes, each other. Let's go.
So Mr. Taco Burrito Man actually is saying that Elon tried to kill him, which is really funny. It was actually one of the most absurd statements you could ever make. Yeah, honestly. I'm just kidding. We don't approve of political violence.
So true. I disavow. That was a joke.
I do. Yeah, there you go. Now that's the YouTube way. That's the YouTube stream way. You say something and then you go, I disavow. But like, and then
I disavow. You can't say that on Real American though, because then they'll just ban you.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So crank, exactly. And like, why do they need a backup generator? Well, like, think in the first place. This is like not necessarily a wealthy family. They're living in California. If you're not wealthy in California, you're struggling. You're struggling for basic needs, basic food. Maybe one day, every time like the decision comes up, are we going to buy a backup generator today, or are we going to eat next week? Like maybe sometimes they just like chose to eat instead of getting the generator. You know, you don't know these people's personal circumstances.
Yeah, and no one could have predicted that the state of California was just going to cut off their power to divert it somewhere else. You know, like it's not like they were giving warning of this. Like if the government like gave warning and was like a day before, like, you know, we're going to be cutting off power. But they didn't do that, you know, so they were stuck in this predicament. Like
they could have moved her to like a hospital in another area. They could have gone and got a generator. They could have done like all they needed was forewarning. Hey, you're going to lose power in 18 hours. You're going to lose power in 24 hours. And then they could have saved her life. But no, the state of California prefers murdering people. So yeah, no, that is one of the most absurd things about all of this to me. There's a genuine disregard for human life, and it actually comes into everything. Did you know, this is actually something way further down on the list, but I want to bring this up. In California, in certain places, especially in SoCal, people walk into Walmart for free air conditioning during the day. They're not there to buy anything. They're not there to do anything. They loiter in the Walmart because it's 108 degrees outside and they don't have anywhere else to go because it's too expensive to have AC on at their home. And the rates set by the AC companies are actually deliberately set high because they want people to not use it, to save energy on the energy grid, and ultimately to adjust to a life without AC like they do in Europe. A lot of countries in Europe, they don't use air conditioning. Well, guess what? Europe does not have the climate of fucking California.
Even countries like Italy, they'll get warm during the summer, but it's nowhere near the temperature of like Los Angeles. Like it's still got like.
Yeah, we're so much closer to the equator. Do you not understand this? Like, yeah.
And let's remember, Los Angeles is a fucking desert. Like that's its environment. You know, this isn't like it's a fucking desert. Like that's the environment Los Angeles was built on. So it's nowhere near what Europe is. Completely different case. So yeah, I don't know what people are thinking with that.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, anyways, so I like I said, I still have this. Let me go down a little bit more of this. Again, and also the climate would probably be better if the areas in this part of California were less dry. And the dryness is not natural. It is government policy keeping these areas more arid than they normally would be. They're keeping the humidity of the area down intentionally because all the water gets poured into the fucking Pacific Ocean. So it would actually help. It would actually help with energy costs. It would help with the average temperature, and it would help with how bearable it was outside. Because as you guys knows, dry heat versus wet heat. Wet heat can be really unbearable, but it does offer a little bit more relief than just being in the freaking desert. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, no. Anyways, so like I said, stagnation was planned across the LA area and San Francisco Bay Area under the assumption it would slow immigration to that specific area. Third world people who came here saw it as paradise, but now they don't. In fact, the people that use the app, the phone app that allows you to become a fake refugee in the country, they specifically request to be brought to a part of the country that's not California. They don't have a specific place. Like they don't know if they want to be in Chicago or if they want to be in Arizona or if they want to be in Texas. They don't know what state where they want to be in, but they just put in the app.
They're not welcome here.
They put on the app, not California.
Also, I'll be right back.
Okay. Mr. Tyrone will return momentarily. But yeah, no. Like that is the very dark reality that we're currently living with, guys. Absolutely atrocious.
I will say it's funny with Tyrone. Tyrone just left. Everyone's been commenting under my videos saying they demand that Tyrone comes on my stream. So I guess I'll have to see if he's coming on eventually when we get rid of this threat of this Andrew guy. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. You just basically gotta harass him. Just like think of him as like a. Like just imagine.
All I know, Miller Stan like called his sheriff about it, and he also contacted the Dayton FBI to look into the person. And here's the thing: the FBI would be able to find him just through like his fucking Twitter account. It doesn't matter how anonymous he is. Like they can trace that shit back. They can probably trace, like we know his Discord now too, so they can probably trace through there too. Because the funny thing is, Discord accounts are like never deleted. Yeah. Like, you know how they just stay as deleted user? Like, they're never really deleted.
Their information is taken off of public info, but they don't actually have any. Okay. So, getting back to... I'm actually going to answer a comment real quick. John, Thomas is asking, John, I do think that we will lose North Carolina, but that we will win Michigan in the Senate races in the midterms. What do you think? Also, who on our side would be best for Wisconsin, Tiffany or Eric Hovde? And to the latter question, I am a very strong supporter. I wasn't before this election cycle, but over the course of the election cycle, I warmed up a lot to Eric Hovde, and I hope that he ends up in the Senate. I think he deserves to be there more than other candidates. And unfortunately, that doesn't say much about Tiffany. I know less about Tiffany. I just really like Eric Hovde as a person, as a human being. I hope he ends up in the U.S. Senate.
Can I interject as the resident Wisconsinite real quick?
Yes.
So I believe he was referring to Governor 2026, and I definitely go with Tiffany. Because Hovde does not like tend to sound to me like a governor candidate, and I know this because my boss is good friends with Hovde, so I'm like 1 degree removed from Eric Hovde. You know, like I've got a source who's very good friends with him, and it doesn't sound like he wants the job like governor. Now,
Okay.
Senate seat in 2028.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. That one's on the air, but I really don't think he's going to run for governor. I think it's going to be Tom Tiffany. And I think Tiffany's got a very good shot at winning the election, just given that Tiffany has never been like, because Wisconsin has proven the past few election cycles to be a very pro-choice swing state. Tom Tiffany's never been someone who's been like a hardliner on abortion, which is good because both of our candidates for governor in 2022, Clayfish and Michaels, were more hardline on the issue. And Tom Tiffany is someone who kind of takes a more middle ground. Well, he just doesn't talk about it. Like, it's not one of his issues. And I think that's probably one of the best people we could run in a state like Wisconsin. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm real optimistic for Tiffany and his chances.
I hope that you guys, as you're building your infrastructure, you get as much help as you can get. If you guys are anywhere near the Wisconsin area and you want to help pitch in, please go help out the Wisconsin GOP, Milwaukee GOP. Help them get these people out, because we definitely want to save Wisconsin. We want to save Wisconsin, guys. But yeah.
I will say too, parties almost never, unless you're like a Tommy Thompson tier leader, parties almost always only go 2 terms of winning the governorship. So Democrats have won the governorship the past 2 elections. So historically speaking, that would mean Republicans win the next one. But again, we can't just go off historically speaking. We have to look at logistics. Yeah. But all I can say is history is on our side, and we got a decent candidate. And if Tony Evers runs again, I mean, you guys saw, we all saw the clip of Tony Evers at the DNC, like forgetting what this is. Like, he's the Biden of Wisconsin, you know? We'll see with him. I honestly think we'd probably do better if he runs again than if the Dems run someone else. But we'll just have to wait and see, you know? Evers and Michaels wasn't a very strong candidate either, and he got that race relatively close. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, you know? 2026 is going to have a lot of competitive races, and don't let the Dems tell you otherwise. They're going to try to gaslight you into thinking all the toss-up states are going to be like likely D because of a blue wave, but don't let them gaslight you. Yeah. We did the same in 22, and how did that go?
So, in regards to the first question, and yeah, so I agree with everything Luke's saying. I defer to him with all of this, especially Wisconsin politics. But in regards to like the difference between North Carolina and Michigan, I really actually hate the fact that people discount North Carolina. Not because they're not in trouble. They're absolutely in trouble in North Carolina, but they're one of the places where if you like put your you put your foot on the gas pedal, you might be able to help them. So like, I don't like people like throwing North Carolina into the fire. And I feel like it's the opposite thing. Like, people are so ready to abandon North Carolina when I talk to them, but they're not willing to like face reality with Georgia. That's what I feel like when I talk about these things. Like, they're always like, well, no, you don't understand. Georgia about to do a total turnaround, about to become super based. I know we've been trending left, but that was all Trump's fault. We're going to be super, super based really soon. And then like, so they have overconfidence in Georgia, and then they almost have like dismissive abandonment in North Carolina. I want people to support North Carolina as much as possible.
What I'll say about North Carolina is I think we just did so good the last election that people are just looking for places to be like, oh, this state's moving left, you know, so that they can be like, because people just don't want to like admit like the fact that the whole country moved right and there's no real consistent trends to look for the future just because everything moved right. So people are trying to extrapolate stuff. So they're going to be like, oh, North Carolina moved less right than the country. We're so cooked there long term. It's over. You know, like that's what people are doing. They're trying to extrapolate trends from an election that was frankly a realignment and you really can't take a lot from it, you know? So we'll just have to wait and see for 28.
We've seen a realignment. We learn more in the midterms, but ultimately, to everybody who's wondering what to do in all of these situations, I really just want people to lock in. I think there is a time there's a time to move resources, and then there's a time to lock in. We have not moved to the move resources part yet. We're in the lock in part. Anyways, we were talking about Michigan. I don't actually know who's on the table at this point in Zelda in Michigan. I'm not well known in Michigan. We did swing right a good bit, so I'm hoping that we have good prospects there. So let's get back to.
We're going to get the governorship, most likely, because the Detroit mayors are running independent. So unless, and it looks like, as people call him by his nickname, this isn't Rap's channel, so I can call him that, Pete Buttplug is going to be the nominee, most likely, for the Dems.
Oh, that would be a disaster. That's like the worst. It
sounds like he's the front runner as of right now. So
I'm a believer in funny business. And ultimately, I don't try to put too much inspiration or motivation to that, because I think funny business happens in Michigan because of their governor. I guess she's going away soon too. But ultimately, with
but there's only so much funny business that can happen when Pete Buttplug's the Dem nominee, and there's a third party super popular mayor of Detroit on the ballot. Who's already got a bunch of high-profile Dem endorsements in the state. There's only so much funny business can do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. When people have this very binary argument about the 2024 election, some people were like, well, this should convince you that all elections are super free and fair and nothing bad ever happens. And then other people say other things. My position is always I think this election proved the funny business has margins, and if things are bad enough, if you're going up against Buttplug, I think it's going to be good. So I actually now have inspired confidence for you guys in Michigan. But let's get back to the actual stream. So
let's
so we've been going over how much of a hellscape that this actually is. War has been waged through energy, through air conditioning, through housing prices, through infrastructure, through water supply. Every single facet of the government has essentially been a war on the upper middle class, the middle class, and anybody that is a level entrepreneur. So maybe not necessarily someone that has developed capital, but they have initial capital that they want to develop, and it could go do wonders for California, but they don't want to capitalize on it. In fact, they kind of encourage it to run screaming from the country, from the state. I see it as a foreign country now, which is why I keep calling it a country. It's like a foreign entity in my mind. I've already expunged it from the union. I'm preparing to invade California, if you guys don't know. But yeah.
Let's go.
So outside of immigration, which we talked about, it got bad in 65. It got worse with the amnesty deals in the 80s. And ultimately, there was a watershed moment where the people of California did not want to continue receiving immigration. And then a court order came down from one of their federal circuit court judges that was like, no, you don't actually get to control immigration. You're going to let everybody into your state. And a lot of people are if you are I'm very heavy on immigration, but some people that are fixated as a one issue thing, they're like, well, that was the end of California. Here's the other side of it. Here is the other more prominent even side, I would argue, of the disaster that is California beyond immigration. Nobody's setting the policy, which is people both in and out of government, the people lobbying and the people in the California government. None of them are subject to the consequences of any of these policies due to the immense income disparity. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the income disparity come first, or did the bad policies come first? And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a full-fledged capitalist, and I'm not advocating any socialist policies, obviously not. It's the income disparity. And so what happened in California was that you had the technology, boom, you had the explosion. It was already a successful state. It already had a Hollywood. It had all of this money and international fame. And then the tech world exploded. Silicon Valley exploded. All of these startup companies
the tech bros have been a pretty common villain in the past couple weeks. You know, you'll start to realize this.
Well, right. But what I'm saying, it's not just them. It's all the
I know.
It's all of the very rich people. Some people rich off of real estate. Some people rich off of Hollywood. Some people rich off of corporate media. Some people rich off of the technology sector. All these people together accumulated vast amounts of wealth, and as they were doing it, one day their eyes popped open, and when their eyes popped open, they ultimately decided, well, my market's not the United States of America. My market's the world. My market's 6, 7, 8 billion people across the planet. You know, it got more as time went along, and ultimately their shift from, you know, the domestic economy to globalism over the past many decades has caused this massive income disparity to take place. One of the examples that was brought up, which was directly from Victor Davis Hanson's personal life, was raisin farming, because he had an estate with his family and they were growing raisins. And ultimately, a lot of economic conversations were had about whether the European market should be allowed to compete with the domestic Californian markets. And you know what? The argument ultimately was a capitalist one. It was free trade. Listen, you're going to have to compete more, but higher competition gets rid of the weaklings, and it makes the most efficient, best producers of product. Those people end up outputting the best goods, the most efficient goods, the most production for the economy, and everybody else finds some other job to do. And that's the second part. It's like the second part of the economic scheme, which is everybody else finds something else to do. That's really where the hitch between California economic planning and California economic expectations comes into foray. So what they ended up happening at with the raisin farms was basically everybody got taken over, all the farms shut down or were bought out, and nobody in those farming communities no longer does any of this anymore. And this is like, oh, this is the natural process of even industrialization and economy and everything else. But ultimately, because of all the other things California does in their state, there aren't actually the jobs available that they want. These jobs, they have a constant influx of immigration that takes a large portion of the job base from the lower middle class, lower class. And those people that have been, you know, knocked out of these other businesses, they don't necessarily have the capital, the skills, or the knowledge to instantly produce wealth in another field. And so since there's no actual like fall for these people, there's no golden net for anybody outside of the government or these disproportionately rich sectors, the upper middle class becomes the middle class becomes the lower class, everybody in the lower class gets onto government subsidies. Well, yeah. And so they either become homeless, they lose all of their business, they lose all of their money, and then everybody,
which is something I can relate to because I look homeless.
Well, right. But you understand, it's like now they live off of government subsidy, and because they no longer have the capacity to work on their own, they ultimately get to this point where they can't do anything. They can't do anything. And that's really the end result. It's a fiefdom. It's a serf class state. And the reason that MAGA is so important, guys, why all of you in chat are important, why my friends here live streaming with me are important, the reason that our conversations are important is because California is a lot quicker to come to the whole country than you would ever even believe. They want California to be the United States. And ultimately, through government policy, through bad mixed market economics, I'm not criticizing capitalism. I'm criticizing the mixed market neoliberal economy we live in. Because of the way we set up the system, we create serfs. The serfs are a weight on the state's funds. The government goes into deficit as a result. The extremely heavily subsidized rich have to pay more. And the rich, when the equation eventually balances out where they would be better off running their government, running their business, their corporation in Argentina, in Ireland, or even in Canada after they fix their problems, or in China or India, whenever one of these other countries becomes a better prospect for their bottom line, for their corporate owners, for their shareholders, it all goes away. This is how you hollow out and destroy not just an economy, a country. You are tearing apart at the very fabric of society, and it is because of the constellation of policy decisions you've chosen. It's not one individual thing. All of it together is this giant flaming trash heap. And so to get back to California specifically, that's the threat to everyone. But the threat to California specifically right now, in particular, is that these people that control the California government and the lobbyists from these high revenue corporations, they can run the state like this forever because they don't care about high electricity bills. They can pay as high electricity bills as they want. They can buy whatever property they want, and if their managers need property, they can buy property for the managers. They can buy cars for the managers. They can do anything that they need, like anything that their guys need to run the company, they can provide through the corporate benefits. And because they don't have to deal with walking into a Walmart for 3 hours a day because midday in Los Angeles is just so freaking hot that you have to sit in there because you've made air conditioning too expensive. Like, because they don't have to deal with these everyday problems of the serf, they ultimately continue ruling without really any care in the world. That's why they can say that they care about the homeless, but they never want to deal with the policies they've created to do it because they like it. They like controlling it. And here's the thing. This is the elite utopian part. These people, because they got all this money, whatever sector they got it from, they think that they're anointed by God. And not in a serious religious sense, because a lot of them are atheists, a lot of them are secular. They think that the world, nature, providence, whatever they believe in, they have been anointed by the universe to control everyone around them. That's why they got all this money. It's not because of competence or a skill set or good opportunities or anything like that. No. It's because they were anointed to rule over you. And because of that, they will implement all the utopian policies. They will implement all of the hard left stuff. That's why they don't care if the hard left rules their country and there's no moderation, is because everybody that controls the purse strings of the people in power in California ultimately do not care, are not affected, don't have to think about it. So that's not my particular speculation, but this was the general conclusion VDH had come to at the end of the particular article I'm kind of riffing off of right now. But yeah, and something else happens that I wanted to bring up that VDH was saying, which was the general exploitation of the average person. Why do people in California get bullied like the people in the United Kingdom do? Why do all these people get bullied? And to give you an example, there was a guy in Oakland in March of last year, 102-year-old man, wheelchair bound, no longer physically capable of doing much of anything, but still living on his own. His family goes in to take care of him every once in a while. He had a bunch of hooligans paint graffiti over his fence. And in past years, while he could still walk around, he would paint over the fence whenever they did it. But he can't do it anymore, and he can't be arsed to do it anymore because he doesn't like getting out of the wheelchair for very long. Well, the state had threatened him with thousands of dollars worth of fines every day that he did not paint over the fence he was physically incapable of painting over. This was a giant scandal. And why do they go after this random Oakland guy for money? It's not like this random middle class, lower middle class 102-year-old man is going to fix the deficit in California. Why are they going after him? Because they no longer enforce any of their other criminal laws, because they no longer are able to solve any of the other problems. They've kind of accepted the infrastructure crisis. They've accepted the immigration crisis. They've accepted homelessness and the disparity of wealth. All of it, it's just a matter of fact. There's nothing they could do about it. So they just bully little people. They find people that they can bully, and they bully them so that they feel like they're doing their job, so that they feel like they have a use in life, so that they feel like they have fucking purpose. Because if they didn't, well, then they'd feel
like they're achieving something in the long run, even though they're just bullying some random boomer, Actually, no, he wouldn't even be a boomer. He'd be like silent gen, probably, if he's 100.
Yeah. No, he's really old. He's really old. And there is no excuse to be trying to like influence, like harass this guy in a local government context. It's simply because they have to be bullies to feel purpose in life. And they can't feel purpose from doing anything else because they can't be Governor Ron DeSantis. They can't be Ken Paxton. They can't be any like useful person from a red state because everything's broken and they've accepted the crises that they deal with on a daily basis as just reality. That's why the fires are going on. That's why the fires happen. They anticipated the fires. They knew fires would happen. I'm sure they didn't realize this much destruction would happen, but they knew there would be fires. Why did nothing happen to them? Because they didn't have to deal with it. And that's the end of it. But you guys have any thoughts on any of this? Rice, do you have any thoughts that have been mulling in your head while I've been rambling and rambling?
No, I'm back.
Well, the first thought that I had is, wow, he knows way more about California than I do, haha. But I don't know. I kind of sort of agree with the general idea you're putting out, though.
Yeah. Well, and it's scary because, and the main reason I'm saying it's scary, this can happen to the entire rest of the country. And I'm proposing this two-pronged thing. Immigration, giant problem. Look, you are not going to have a normal society when like 27% of the country is not like even American in the cultural sense. Mm-hmm. They might have citizenship, they might be naturalized, but they haven't like internalized Americanism, and nobody's been teaching them how to be American because they're just like, there's no integration policy in California. They just get to be themselves. And so, unfortunately, the cultures that they came from that were inferior to American culture, they never get taught the reasons that what they were doing in their old country didn't work. And they never learned the new mannerisms that we do that make our country function better on a micro level, all the way up to just like management of like companies and stuff. They never learned what makes America great and the things that we do that make America great. And so they just bring their country here. So, and it's a mixed bag. It's because all these people are all from different places. So, import the third world, become the third world. That's something that you hear a lot. And it sounds very denigrating. But ultimately, if you don't even try to integrate these people, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, welcome back, by the way, Tyrone. What do you have anything that was going through your head?
I literally just got here.
You literally just got here? Literally? Not like figuratively.
No, like literally.
Yeah, he's rapidly approaching your door as we speak.
We got fucking bed checks. Yes, I've been your fucking walls for you.
That's great. Also, Tyrone, by the way, my chat, when I'm no longer under doxing threat, and I start doing streams again, my chat really wants you to come on one of my streams. So
sure, we'll find time.
Missouri 7 says
every time I would go live, that's all the chat asks is get Tyrone on, get Tyrone on.
Everybody loves Tyrone. Missouri 7th was saying, in other words, you're saying California is a two-tier justice system. That's exactly what we're saying. It's like there's rules for Mark Zuckerberg and everybody that runs big tech corps in Hollywood over there. And then there's another set of rules for the people, the heavily subsidized serf class that has to live with a third of the people that they live around not even knowing English or like conducting themselves normally, and they have to go to schools where, half the classes have to be taken up to, hey, we got to teach these kids how to like actually function and like speak English and stuff. So yeah, their hospitals are burdened, their schools are burdened. That's how you drop 35 places in the school list of United States school test scores. Like that's how you drop 35 places. You freaking like import millions
all
of
sanity
kids.
Shall be sacrificed upon the pedestal of the altar of progressivism.
The altar of progress. And why can these people, and again, that was like the point that I wanted to make in the stream, that really should be hammered home in everybody's minds. Why can they practice the religion of woke? Why can they practice the cult that they have formed? It's because nobody that actually forms policy in California government has to be held accountable. It's the income disparity that was created by all of the financial success. Ultimately, that's why it's a single party state. That's why they have utopian ideals. It's why they can keep acting like this and they still get elected. It's because of all of this. It's because of this crazy disparity between the bottom and the top, and every single policy that they implement only further increases income disparity. I'm pretty sure California has the worst income disparity out of any state in the world, which should be super ironic. They're supposed to be the most socialist and equitable, right? They're supposed to be the most egalitarian. They're supposed to be
equity, not equality.
Well, they're supposed to believe in equality of outcome rather than equality of opportunity in California. But for some reason, the outcome is even further spread apart than in states where people just believe in equality of opportunity. Isn't that kind of strange? Yeah. It's scary how fast and easy California can happen to any one state. Yeah. No, it's these runaway things. And really, I think it's one of those things to just really be warned against when somebody... Immigration is something we will talk about nonstop on this channel. It'll be a very big topic, but there's other important characteristics of California. And one of them that we're trying to discuss right now is when somebody comes up to you and offers, hey, look, I'm going to totally change your neighborhood. I'm going to put in this multi-billion-dollar company next to the place you grew up. And it's not going to be the same as when you grew up, but you're going to have so much economic success. You're going to have so much wealth. You're going to live like a king because we brought so much money into your local economy. Ultimately, none of those things actually promise you or guarantee you any path to greater prosperity. Ultimately, when you buy that deal, you will never get back the place that you originally had. And you get a lot of other side effects that are important to consider. So for California, they get constant car crashes. They get halted infrastructure, intentionally halted infrastructure. They get power grids shutting down. They get all of these things. And yes, part of this is partially due to the competency crisis. But even if, like, you want to say, like, half of the people in the California government are incompetent, if you just change these freaking policies and you just let the water flow and you let the oil and natural gas get drilled and you let all of these things flow, even the incompetent people are going to be able to keep the power grid running. They're not going to go through running out of water. Yeah, no. It's literally policy. It's not just incompetence. It's just the actual policy. If they change policy, whole thing changes. Latinos and Asians will save California, I think. I just don't think it'll be immediate. Well, Tristan, that's a very optimistic point of view. We have to figure out if they can create a fusion culture. Obviously, there have been lots of racial tensions in past decades in California. But it seems as though the dream that was seen by people in the Bay Area, in LA, it seems like they saw a multi-ethnic, multicultural, mixed-race society, and they didn't see any particular problems with it 30, 40, 50 years ago. Like, they saw their cities running beautifully, and they really appreciated the dynamism that came with it. I think that was something that they appreciated, and they thought, well, there's never going to be, like, if we bring in more of this, like, what could possibly go wrong? And here's your answer. Here is your answer. And it was like that's ultimately it. And I think that the people of California, the citizens of California, that they can pull themselves out of this mess. But a lot has to change first. A lot has to change. And I think one of the first things that's going to help them take the baby steps towards that is turning off this faucet. Is stop all of this nonsense. Stop the policies that force business owners to leave California. Because guess what? If all of these middle class, upper middle class, even now rich people can't afford to live in California anymore, and they move to Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Florida, if you move all the capital out of your state just dies. And so people, I like people being optimistic. I don't want people to lose hope for the future. But you have to realize you're already like a medieval, like, fiefdom. You're already a medieval slave state And if you don't change things now, ultimately you're going to get hollowed out and die, just like you are right now. But yeah, no, there are not immediate reasons to rejoice. You have a long war to fight in California. If you're there, Shanahan 26. Okay, Midnight. I have your take recorded in my brain. Shanahan 26. Tyrone is my favorite schizophrenic racist. George W. Bush likes you, Tyrone.
Oh,
I hope I'm your favorite. I hope I'm your favorite schizophrenic non-racist. If Tyrone's your favorite schizo-racist, you gotta have a favorite schizophrenic non-racist. I mean, I would be racist if I wasn't part Mexican, but I guess that kind of bars me from being
that explains
racist.
a lot of things.
As
Also,
Nick
no, I know a shit ton of racist Mexicans.
recently pointed out in his arrest clip when the cops asked him if he was a white nationalist, and he said he can't be because he's Mexican. So I guess that bars me from being racist because I'm part Mexican as well, just like our Lord and Savior Fuentes. That was a joke, obviously. I don't like Fuentes, actually. I think he's
I've been focusing on the stream and everything. I've gotten through my notes now, but someone asked, Midnight was asking, have the wildfires peaked? Do you guys have any info on the fires peaking?
I don't. I just love.
I haven't heard anything at the moment.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, well, I haven't heard anything about any peaks at the moment, but I'm starting to keep track on that.
Well, the scary thing to me is that ultimately, the scary thing to me is when I talk to people, I have a lot of friends in California, and they tell me that they actually have no clue, and that they see the fire coming towards them, and they don't know if they should run or if they should hide or if something else happened. And so I don't think it's peaking. I think it's spreading, and yeah, it could get worse. I hope it gets better. I hope it extinguishes, but I haven't got any news on that yet. Haven't checked the numbers in a few hours. Also, by the way, really funny thing, NBC revealed, the reporter revealed, they have no internet in these areas. There's no, the infrastructure is already falling apart. They don't have internet. The only way they're able to broadcast is because of freaking Starlink. They have Starlink systems that are helping them go from the areas that are burning down. That's another just ridiculous little anecdote. Kenneth Fire is mostly contained, according to Crank. Is it true the fire department was defunded? Well, it was. They did. I know that they went under DI hiring practices. That they lost people. I know that they had funding taken away from them, resources taken away from them into Ukraine. But yeah, ultimately, it seems like even if the fire department itself was not defunded, all of the resources the firemen would be using were taken away from them. They didn't have hoses. They didn't have water. They didn't have anything that they needed. They didn't have men. They didn't have labor. Obviously, there is mass issues with the logistics there. The Kenneth one had 800 acres. Oh my gosh. They reduced the funding by 17 million. Holy crap. I guess that's why the LA mayor didn't want to say anything, because if she didn't just stare there and give the fluoride stare to everyone, maybe they would have asked her, hey, why did you defund the fire department? Hey, why did the firemen not, or why are the firemen using purses to put out fires? Why are the firemen, maybe that's why. Obviously Newsom is such an arrogant ass that he can sit there and flap and flail his arms on live television, but maybe the LA mayor is different. Maybe she knows on a deep level that she is the cause of everything going on in LA right now.
On the whole mayor thing, can we just appreciate these super blue cities always just getting so close to electing competent mayors, but then somehow choosing the super incompetent option? Like Rick Caruso got so close to winning that. Reminds me of Chicago too. Like fucking, what was his name? Who ran against Brandon Johnson? Shit, what was that guy? Paul Vallis. Like these two, Vallis and Caruso would have actually been competent mayors. And then they just barely fall short because they're called Republicans. Like, I swear to God, they're just going to call like any competent person that ever runs for mayor in these cities a Republican. And then their campaign just dies, you know? Because everyone's like, oh no, it's a Republican. We can't vote for a Republican, you know? So So that's something interesting with these big city mayoral races, you know. And it's unfortunate that Los Angeles, because I think if Los Angeles had elected Rick Caruso, it would be under much better leadership. And this crisis probably still would have happened, but it probably would have been fixed, or it would have been a lot less bad. I think that's a safe thing to say with Caruso instead of Karen Bass. But I yield the floor back to John Rose.
Yeah, Crank's telling us more. Crank's been my info guy in the chat, man. Crank's a good friend of mine. He's been around for years. I need to have him on the actual stream. But Crank's telling us that apparently someone sent out inaccurate evacuation orders for all of Los Angeles instead of the places that actually need it, Orange County, which has 0 fires. So they completely got it backwards there. Obviously, that's incompetence and probably not malice, but at this point, who even freaking cares anymore? There's at some point where, like, the malice and like, is it malice? Is it incompetence? I mean, maybe the incompetence is malice itself. Like, the fact that the people there that are hired there that do not care about you and don't know what to do, maybe the people who decided those should be your leaders, maybe they hold malice towards you for being a normal person. So that's something to,
like I said, they were given a totally normal, competent option. It was a moderate Democrat for mayor, and they chose the schizophrenic leftist over him. Like I said,
main populist asking, why do you think the Lake and Riley bill overperformed the Senate so much? 2 reasons. Number 1, it was already supposed to be bipartisan legislation. The Democrats just said no because they were in power at the time. Lake and Riley bill is bare minimum. Like, do you agree to deport people that have committed violent crimes and that have violated young women, deflowered young women? Do you agree that we can deport those people? Democrats said no. I think it was like, what was it, like 100?
By the way, fuck Ruben Gallego, that piece of shit. He voted with Biden 100% of the time. And now he's changing his tune because Trump's coming into office. He is doing a 180 because it's politically convenient, and he knows if any other Republican had run against him that wasn't Kerry Lake, he would have lost.
Yeah. That's
He's
so
a flip-flopper. Stop fucking excusing Ruben Gallego. Don't excuse any of these fucking swing state senators. Hold them fucking accountable. Period.
Yeah.
I will say is Fetterman is meeting Trump at Mar-a-Lago, so I'm interested to see what's going to be happening.
That's an interesting piece of news, and that goes into my second reason. First reason, Democrats are in power. It didn't get passed before. It was already bipartisan legislation. It was not. This is not a hard bill for Democrats to pass. I'm going to be honest with you. Second reason, though, is because of Fetterman. Because Fetterman was going to vote with the bill, and the bill was going to pass no matter what. And so Democrats did not want Fetterman to be the rebel. They didn't want him to be voting out of line with the Democrat Party. And so because they, for some reason, I guess, they don't have a leash on this man, they all voted with him so that it appeared as there was an appearance of solidarity with the Democrat senators. That was ultimately what they were doing there. They voted with Fetterman so that Fetterman couldn't claim to be better than them or to try to take. Because here's the thing. If Fetterman comes off as the new Democrat, the ultimate charismatic figure of the left wing, ultimately he gets more power, more political capital. They do not want him at the top of their party. In fact, I'm kind of worried about him shifting over to Republicans. If that's what he's talking to Trump at Mar-a-Lago tonight about, if he switches parties, that is, there could be some short-term benefits we receive from it, but in the long term, that really worries me. I think Fetterman's a liability. I think that he is willing to go against the grain on really important issues. I don't want him to be a Republican in the Senate.
I don't foresee him becoming a Republican. I think the most he would maybe do is become an independent and caucus with Republicans.
Yeah,
I don't see him ever becoming. Yeah, I don't ever see him becoming a
I think what he would probably do is, in a worst case, I think he'll stay a Democrat. But I think if he does do anything with party registration, he probably registers as an independent, caucuses with Democrats on issues such as abortion and gay marriage, and then caucuses in economics, but caucuses with Republicans on things like industrial policy or immigration.
That'll be good. Although that would be better than him being a
Or
Republican.
foreign policy. Sounds like he tends to lean like towards the right on foreign policy too,
That'll be good.
especially Israel.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that's the thing. And you know what? Missouri 7 actually is asking you, Luke, what do you think of Fetterman?
I think he's interesting because this is probably one of the few senators who campaigned as like a democratic socialist and a progressive, and then got into office and is now acting like he's basically like the new Joe Manchin. Probably not as moderate, obviously, but it's just different issues he focuses on as opposed to Manchin. But it's interesting to see because this dude railed against people who broke with the Dem Party when he was running for Senate, you know, and now he's one of the people breaking with his party on a lot of these bills. Like, I think he's the main reason, like, a bunch of Dems just got behind the Lincoln Riley Act.
Yeah.
Like, I think I don't trust him. I don't trust a lot of these people. I mean, I trust people like Tulsi. I trust people like RFK, but those are kind of different cases because, like, I'm someone who, since the beginning with RFK, I've been a big fan of him since he announced. Like, I thought this guy, like, is someone genuine. And I think him endorsing Trump in August, dropping out, goes to show that. But I'm distrustful of a lot of these new people, like the Musks of the world, the Viveks. I never got the hype around Vivek when he was at the debate. I get that he was, like, the only voice semi-defending Trump on the debate stage, so people wanted to... So I'm very skeptical of a lot of these newcomers, you know?
Well, yeah, ultimately, that's what it was, is that, like, it wasn't even a policy thing with Vivek. It was just because he got on the stage and he was the surrogate for Trump on the stage, and he whammed Nikki Haley in the way very reminiscent of the 2016 Republican primaries. He was there to basically be the... Well, you know how, like, Elon Musk lets an Indian write some of his tweets, you know? It was kind of like Trump was letting Vivek debate for him on the stage. And so, you know, that's really interesting. But I guess what I say, I have extreme caution in very specific areas with Vivek and Elon. But ultimately,
especially Elon. My thing with Elon is I want Elon simply to exist as our George Soros, Bill Gates, etc., and let him, like, run that stupid Doge thing that doesn't change anything. That's just an advisory board and nothing more. I don't want to see him get any more cabinet spots. I just don't trust him at all. This was the guy who was trying to put microchips in people's brains. He was buying into all the green stuff, like the Green New Deal just a few years ago. You know, you can't trust people like Elon. But it's kind of we're in a situation where we kind of need someone like Elon, or we're never winning anything again. You know, so
right. So. We really, Elon, no matter what we think of him, he's not going away. And that's something that we're like, I don't think there was any way of us getting rid of Elon, even when he initially, like, jumped into the ring. But now that he's here, we really just have to dialogue with him. And if we don't dialogue with Elon, good news. We all know that Elon Musk, on some rudimentary level, believes in free speech, or else he wouldn't have spent $40 billion on Twitter. So at the bare minimum,
so as of recently, but still, you're way safer on Twitter now than you were before he took over. I'll say that
you're way safer, and a lot of the people that got suspended that are complaining right now and whining about Elon trying to kill them. Ultimately, I think a lot of them have been. Actually, I know for a fact that they've been engaged in platform manipulation. They have bots, and they've been doing it. And I saw proof during the election while they were crapping all over Trump. Reminder, by the way, they were crapping all over Trump all year. They were using bots to influence their amount of stuff. We have DMs of them coordinating it. In the Twitter group conversations.
Oh yeah, the Roypers definitely use those bots, dude. They'll reply under, like, random posts, and within 5 minutes they'll have, like, 1,000 likes. It's like, it's not natural, you know? Like, these accounts will have, like, 200 followers, and they'll just get thousands of likes in, like, 5 minutes. It's like, That's not natural.
Are we right-wing woke mobsters? Okay, so midnight. I'm actually gonna have to hold that thought. We're gonna do another stream. If I don't really want to do it tomorrow night because there's a Data Republican and Christian Hines are doing a really cool stream tomorrow night that I want everyone to tune into. I'm gonna tune into it. And I think it's super important because what it's about. This is what it's about tomorrow night. Their stream is about what we do to hold Congress accountable. Single most important conversation we can have right now as a team, as a group of people. I really want you guys to tune into it just because Data Republican on Twitter, Christian Hines on Twitter, I think you guys know those two. But they'll be discussing, and they both have connections to the GOP and to some of our outwards infrastructure in the party, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point, and everything else. Please be a part of this conversation, and however you'd want to do that, be a part of the conversation of how do we hold senators accountable? How do we hold reps accountable? I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I'm going to talk about it until my throat like rips out of my mouth because if we don't figure this out, we're screwed. So please tune into that. Yeah. Otherwise, John, what do I do? My wife needed to hire an Indian to increase the GDP of my bedroom.
Beams in the fucking city. What the hell? People are using their high beams while driving down the fucking. I don't know what's going on with.
Yeah, no. I hate those people. Yeah, I hate people that use high beams. High beams people should be
in the city. I'm walking around the Bayview neighborhood of Milwaukee.
Hey, I'm walking in.
I'm
walking in.
Also, by the way, Al Carbo said that on his face. Who's an Italian from Staten Island.
Nice.
He said that on his face the other day, like completely natural. Like it wasn't even like. And
he's a fucking wop. Basically.
Oh, yeah, Al Carbo's also been one of the recent victims with Luke and Rap, so make sure to give Al Carbo some love. He's look for the Squidward guy with the papal. Look for the Squidward guy with the papal hat, the papal tiara, or whatever.
I know, even though he banned me from his Minecraft server, we're technically in solidarity together because of this.
This is so sad.
I know it's very sad, dude.
Why did you get banned?
I got banned because every country in was this Catholic monarchy. And just to piss him off, we made me and a few people logged on for a day and we made a liberal democracy and he got so pissed at us. Yeah.
This is some most peaceful griefing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I know, and we had this shittiest mock election on a Google slide too. It was great. 6 people voted.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, anyway, guys, when will SoCal get arrested? Well, yeah, actually, I got actually news from the local police department. SoCal has not been arrested yet, but he's on the run. I believe that he's going to be flogged. I believe he's going to be tarred and feathered in public. And I think
he's transitioning to get away. I heard he's transitioning though to blend in. Yeah.
He's actually auctioning off his testicles on eBay if you want to buy them. You can find them right now if you'd like. But yeah, ultimately,
he's also mailing himself more pizzas. He's mailing himself more pizzas.
Yeah, if you guys don't know the deal with that, and you got or if you guys fell for the memes, SoCal literally just. That guy is the person behind all of the doxes that were going on, or that are still going on in the community. He's the one that had the information. He's complicit. We have private information and screenshots and records proving that this is what he is, and ultimately he's just bullshitting everywhere he is online. And that's why if you heard me in the Twitter space the other day, I told him he was full of shit. I didn't elaborate, but it's just ultimately that's why. It's just because we know based off of the stuff we see privately that he wants to play victim because it got too much blowback and because he didn't realize he would be on the back foot of this issue. But yeah, no. Turns out that you guys in your own moral consciences did not respond well to the doxing. So terrible situation. Does Red Eagle know about the situation? If he does, he's
I
probably
tried
ignoring
talking
it.
to him and he didn't believe me. And On Point said I was like a liberal propaganda account trying to take down SoCal.
Gosh. Oh
No,
my
Oh,
gosh.
schizophrenic. Okay.
Yeah, you know,
yeah, when I
I
called On Point to talk about this, he mentioned how this sounded like that I sounded like a liberal in the old FNAF Discord he was in, who would like try to slander him. And I was like, what the fuck is On Point rambling about? Like,
well, it just goes to show you don't have to be smart to be a content creator. So ultimately, go out there, do it. That we know we're doing it. You guys are doing it. Let's just have this conversation, no matter how
Exactly.
retarded we are, no matter how
I just like to
retarded
point
we
out
are.
though, John Rose. I'm impressed by the fact that you actually use like notes and shit for your streams. I just go live and I just ramble for like an hour. Like that's
Well,
what I'll
no.
do.
I ultimately the reason I wanted to talk about California is because I have a couple of conservative writers that have spent a lot of time in California, and I know how bad it is. I wanted to talk about it. I don't have personal experience in California, but this is what's going on. And
All right,
again,
gents, I'll be back in about 25 minutes at max.
okay. But yeah, we'll say goodbye to Tyrone there, and ultimately I don't have a lot else to talk about. We've actually covered the recent drama and controversy, and yeah, with what you guys said earlier,
the upcoming stream on the woke right though.
the next stream that we're gonna do, it may have to be even on the weekend if I can get people together, or we'll wait till the start of next week, so either Monday night or Saturday night. But what we're gonna do is we're going to talk about James Lindsay, the woke right. Mentis Wave did a great video that can kind of prep you for what we're going to discuss, but ultimately we want to talk about this slander and why it's not only nonsensical, but it's actually a projection, a mirror into this man's life. We're going to tear him apart. We're going to show you everything that's been going on, and ultimately I want you guys to like come to the conclusion, like, I have to think for myself, and I have to not be so deeply affected by labels people throw on me. I just have to try and fight for what's right, and that's what we're all doing here today. I hope I make it clear what we fight for every single day on here. Otherwise, that is everything. Do you, either of you have any final thoughts?
Related to the woke right thing, I have recently announced my candidacy for Grand Wizard of the Woke Right, so I'd appreciate everyone's endorsement. It's going to be a tough campaign. We're going up against some big names like Nick Fuentes and who's that neo-Nazi who recently got unbanned? The big one.
Jared Taylor.
Jared Taylor. We're going up against some big names.
He's not a neo-Nazi. He's a white advocate. I don't know if I told you that, but this is the language he uses now. He's a white advocate, actually, I'll make a video.
They're dissident right. That's their.
I won't do a stream on Jared Taylor, but I will definitely make you guys a video, and I have it ready. I have some notes ready for it. It's just going to be about what I think he's doing right and what I think he's doing that make him look very bad. And it's not because, look, this is not a white identitarian stream or a white advocacy stream, but I am white and I like white people. So we're gonna be talking good things, and some of the things we suggest will make white people's lives a lot better. Some of it will make Hispanic lives better. It'll make black lives. I don't care. I don't freaking care. I care about the American worker. I care about the integrity of this country. I do care about the culture of this country that comes from a very specific place in the world. So we'll be talking more about that. But yeah, otherwise we're really on the working class grift, the working class grind around here. I think that's what we are.
I'm a big backer of multi-racial working class populism. You know, as someone who's technically multiracial myself, you know, European and Mexican. You know, yeah. I'm a big supporter, which, by the way, it's funny the Groypers talk about this white nationalist thing, given most of them are more Hispanic than me. I mean, I've seen every single one of these Groypers who's gotten their face leaked, you know, like classic Groyp looks like an Aztec, you know?
So I actually, the angle that I really come at all of the stuff with is, I think that the ultimate society, the things that these people want in white nationalist circles and white advocacy or whatever, I believe that we have other methods of getting them a society a lot closer to what they actually want than their fantasies could ever produce. And so I hope that's going to be the argument I make to anyone who is a big enjoyer of white people in the chat. You love white people. I love them too. But we have to actually have smart ways to get to what we want instead of just, feelings, I guess. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. We're very pragmatic on here. We're very realistic. So I'll do that. We'll talk about Jared Taylor later. Expect another stream on James Lindsay either this weekend or next week. Tune in tomorrow to Christian Hines and Data Republican doing that stream. I believe it's a Twitter space they're going to do tomorrow. Please tune into that because I'll be there listening to. And we're not going to go into what a groiper is. You can DM me, dude, if you need to know what a groiper is. But
so are me.
But other than that, Rice, did you have anything that you wanted to put a bow on all of this conversation? Anything going on in your mind?
Well, the general thing that was just kind of going through my mind as you basically gave us this comprehensive breakdown on why California is a horrible state and how this could happen to literally, any other state if, the proper practices aren't, put in place. Right. It's just that, my main observation of just all of the stuff that's just going on, just all together, it's just from policies to just how, the governors just regard their own people. It's just really anti-human. We're talking, it just feels more like they just ended up electing people that just hate them for existing. And so they ended up just implementing these, counterproductive and just policies, including just wasting money on frivolous pursuits that don't really go anywhere to improving their communities at large. And just really just elected people that hate them.
We do have to be open. They do hate them. They hate them for a lot of reasons. Sometimes they hate them for the same reason that Nick Fuentes hates his own audience, because they're poor. Sometimes they hate them because of their color of their skin. But ultimately, what we advocate for here in the MAGA movement in America First is politicians whose primary responsibility is not raising the GDP, not making corporations wealthy, but to have a government that services the citizens, that prop up their system, a government by the people for the people.
That sounds kind of woke to me, I think the congressman should represent the donors, because the donors are what makes this country run. If we were on an island in the middle of the ocean, and we had the Constitution and donors, without any of the people, the country would function just fine. I learned that from the I learned this from the Cato Institute, and they would never lie to me.
Cato Institute, most reliable people. Yeah. So last question for the stream before we wrap it up. Can we fix California, or is it unfixable? My answer to that question, I'm very pessimistic, but you guys will have hope if you elect Caitlyn Jenner as governor of California. No. But, no, it's pretty bad. Please run away screaming. And honestly, I think running away screaming is more productive than trying to fight against these people, because the more capital that leaves, the less power that they have. And ultimately they are forced to reform when their economy collapses. So move to a better state. You don't have to be here forever.
Nicole Shanahan is like a last straw, and when she loses, just move. Just do that. That's what you should do.
Yeah. 26 governorship. You can bet your hopes on that. But otherwise, move to. I have friends who moved to California to Idaho. They're living pretty good. I have one friend that moved to Arizona.
Get Arizona back up. It's becoming a red state again. Let's achieve that in real time.
Crank says he will vote for Newsom before Bruce Jenner. Man, so harsh. You don't believe in the New Republic. I can tell. You really don't believe it. Not like
he doesn't believe in he doesn't believe in the big. He doesn't believe in the biggest tent. I believe in a big tent, but you have to go to the biggest tent. Like the OnlyFans model who flashed the Trump rally in New York, that is the bigger tent,
Well, ultimately, because and another thing, I don't want to I'm not blackpilling you to take all of your hope away. I'm blackpilling you so you go get a better life in another state. The curing process that they used this year in California and the lack of voter ID. It means that whether or not you think fraud exists in the California voting system, there will never be a way to prove it. And ultimately, you just watched them spend an entire month gathering up votes that may or may not have existed prior to the election. And they used it to flip, I think, 3 House seats in the House of Representatives. If you move away, they lose the House seats. The House seats go to other states if you leave the country. If you leave California and you move to Idaho, and then like that happens, like, 30, 40, 50, 100, like if it happens enough times, they lose a rep. And that's really the most important thing that you guys should focus on. But yeah, no, the Caitlyn Jenner thing was a joke. Kind of like honestly, I don't know what I would do if I lived in California. I would probably move out.
No, Shanahan's the best option, and hopefully she runs.
Okay.
Or we just find or we run like Rick Caruso as an independent. That honestly might be the best case scenario. If we run him as an independent, because he's technically a moderate Democrat, but he historically has been a Republican. He almost won the Los Angeles mayor race, so. I think he'd be the best case, but we'll see if that. I'm not sure how quickly that happens. If he ran statewide, he'd probably just get slandered as a Republican anyway.
Right, and Thomas, ultimately, with working class, we know the exact kind of voter that we're going for. We're going for middle class, lower middle class workers that may not necessarily be high propensity voters. We want to make them into high propensity voters. But we're looking for those people in that specific economic range, and we're also looking, I think, primarily in the white and Hispanic demographics. We'll be very happy if other demographics hop on board, like the Native Americans did. They voted 60% for Trump. Not a very large constituency, but we'll be happy if we get other demographics. But I think it's mainly white and Hispanic, and we're really not gonna cater to Hispanics in the way that the party wanted to 10 years ago with like Jeb Bush. He did his announcement speech in Spanish. It's like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're just going to offer them good economics, and we're going to hope that we can capture.
Treat them like normal people. Don't treat them like there's some DEI special interest group. Right. They fucking hate that. That's why these people would rather be called racial slurs than Latinx.
Yeah. We're gonna treat them with dignity and with like normal human beings. We're not going to call them Latinx or whatever the crap. We're just going to be like, hey, you want to make money? You want to start a business?
To pander to them. We're just going to be like. You're American, I'm American, we're the same, okay?
Right.
They were literally, in the census, seen as white until the 20s, okay? So
that's the plan, and we're done, because like I said, I was going to make that the last question. So we're done. I do want to put the brakes on this before we hit 2 hours, because, oh my goodness. Yeah. But I love doing this. I enjoyed the stream a bunch. Hopefully we will have more banter in the future. I hope I really want to have lots of bants. But we're going to bring you some good content. I'm sure we will have lots of fun with the James Lindsay woke right stream. So look forward to that. Look forward to videos. God bless you guys. And remember, you are in this fight for all of us, for your people, for your parents, for your children, everybody else. If you give up and you pretend it doesn't matter.
Right is in this fight.
And I really want to be specific. This is a very specific time to be engaged. The next 4 years, the next 8 years, the next 12 years, probably the most important time to be engaged in politics in your entire life. So please get in the fight with us. Please start and continue the conversation. I will see you guys tomorrow at the Data Republican stream. Otherwise, God bless and have a fantastic rest of your night.
Sub to Lake Politics YT too.
Sub to Lake Politics and be nice to Rice. All right. Christ is king. Christ is king.
And adios. And Godspeed to all of you, to quote Rap.